Hey, what's up? It's Leah. Thank you so much for coming. I truly appreciate you being here. Welcome. Today we are talking about 7 ways to outsmart the narcissist. Why am I talking about this? Why? Because it keeps getting in the way of really good people living their best life. And then we miss out on amazing art and inventions and relationships because maybe you've been a target of this. And as you know, if you have been, it can be extremely time consuming. It can take all your resources, your talent, your life force, your prana, your energy. And so then you don't create. You don't use your gifts and talents. As an acting teacher, I'm dedicated to getting in touch with your gifts and talents. Because I believe when we're all expressing from our highest and best and contributing our gifts and talents into the world, we help to create more peace on the planet. And that's a pretty big deal to me. That's pretty cool to me, so it's worth it to me to go on the front lines and talk about narcissism. And also because I have been a target of it, and I've been abused all my life. So proud. But now it can be a super power because I'm changing and shape-shifting, and I've taken responsibility and ownership, and I've learned through therapy and through watching videos like this and reading books and then working with all the clients that I have inside of my acting classes and noticing that this keeps being a problem. I'm now talking about it because this is a major thing in the way. Some people ask, is it evil? Is narcissism evil? What's evil to you? To me, anything is evil if it gets in the way of your highest and best, deliberately. That to me is evil. So whatever you want to call it, by whatever name that means to you, it's not good. It's not fun. It can cause cancer in the body. So I'm going to talk about it, and I am. I'm doing it. I'm drinking my tea first, though. Really important to trust your instincts. And so many people that come to me, actors and non-actors alike, don't trust their instincts. Why don't we trust our instincts? Because you're told your whole life not to. We're told our whole life not to even trust our feelings. Our feelings are our instincts. That's what it is. So when you're told your whole life, don't worry about it. Don't get so stressed out. You're too sensitive. You think too much. You shouldn't feel that way. You begin to stop trusting. And if you've been a target of narcissistic abuse, you really don't trust because you've been gaslighted, you've been shamed, you've been blamed. All sorts of things have happened. So now we're breaking that pattern. So in relationships and dating or business, you can avoid these signs. In particular in dating I'm talking about, but I think that these things can relate because if you've had this in your family, you know there's a theme. Well, it might change a little bit, the show, right? The theater might change a little bit depending upon the character that they play in your life, what kind of narcissist, whether it's your mom or dad or your brother, sister, friend. 7 ways to outsmart a narcissist. So the first thing is to really trust your instincts. What does that mean? To go, when something feels off, trust that. Don't gaslight yourself into thinking, oh, I shouldn't feel that way. Don't shame yourself like, oh, well, I should give them the benefit of the doubt because who am I to think that something is wrong? If you feel like something's off, it's off. That's it. So a lot of times when you take a lot of responsibility as an empath, you realize that there's a lot of stories that play out in your head, right? So this is how also a narcissist can spiritually shame you and gaslight you. Because they go, oh, it's just in your head. It's just in your head. You're making stuff up. That can happen sometimes. Yes. And that's why it's so important to come back into your own instincts, to know that you have solid footing when you trust what your body, what your heart is saying. And if you get a funny feeling about somebody, then you're right. Trust that. You don't need to wait till proof not to trust them. If you wait for the proof, it'll be too late. A way to outsmart them is avoid them if you can. So a lot of times this is the alpha male or the alpha female, right? And they're the most charismatic in the room and they're so charming. And believe me, I did stand-up comedy professionally at one point in my life. So I hung out with a lot of these types. Really funny and over the top, and especially like the grandiose narcissists, right? They can be so charming and fun and funny. So you want to hang out with them. I advise to not go for the biggest in the room, the one that's so grandiose. Now, the covert narcissists are tricky because they actually wait until you come to them. And in a way, they're the most insidious and most powerful because they wait for their bait to come to them. They make you do all the work. So there are different types, but you can feel this energy. And that's why it comes back to that first step of trusting your instincts. I was working with a client who is very successful, and by a lot of, I don't know, mainstream terms, people would say that he's handsome, right? He will love that. He's like, of course I'm handsome. Well, he was working with somebody and he was talking about how something's charming, right? Like something they were writing a script and he's a producer and he's talking about how something's charming. And the lady was like, oh, that's not good. Charming, that's not good. And so he asked me about that. He said, is it bad to be charming? I always thought charming was something really desirable. And it's like men are taught how to be charming. And everyone wants to be charming, don't they? Prince Charming. The problem with charming is that a lot of times people use that charm to manipulate. So a lot of times the person that's getting the most attention, whether they're covert and just sitting in the corner and kind of waiting for people to come to them, but it's the energy you feel from them, or it's the person that's just the center of spotlight at all times. It's one thing to use your gifts and talents, right? That's beautiful. It doesn't mean that you can't command a room or be a bright light, a big presence, of course, but it's an energy. With some people you feel, again, coming back to step one, you feel like something's off. This person is a show off. This person is trying to manipulate. Trust that. Yes. So often I think by the fight or flight nature, like a survival instinct, we almost want to go into that danger because we feel safest if we have the danger right there, right? They say what is that old phrase, like keep your friends close and your enemies closer? Don't do that. You don't want your enemies close, but I think that's that fight or flight thing. Like, I feel there's danger there, so if I conquer that danger and face that and go into the fire with this person, I'm going to be safe. That's why people want to be friends with the bully. If I'm friends with the bully, I won't be bullied. That's why people join gangs, get into cults, all sorts of things. This is the psychology. It's psychological warfare. And narcissists are so good at it. They're amazing. They are so good. As somebody commented, oh, sorry, my nose is all itchy, like one of those like little things in the air just like went up my nose. I hate that. We're breathing it in all the time, but it's when you notice it, right? Just like the narcissist. They're around us and amongst us all the time, but when you breathe it in, look at how I'm trying to connect everything. Leah, you don't have to make everything make sense. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I'm a meaning-making machine. This is important because a lot of times empaths, right, are spiritual, taking responsibility, doing self-help work and all this stuff. So we don't want to look at all this because we're like, oh, that's low vibe. I want to ascend with my angel wings off into the Up into the sky. But in order to ascend, in order to really have your angel wings not broken and battered, is by recognizing what is. And avoiding these people if you can, so that you can save yourself time, energy, all the things. Because an angel with broken wings and sick, nearly dead, is of no use. Did I pull that analogy off? I think I did. Okay, so that's fine. Number 3, it's kind of connected to the instinct thing. I mean, that's really the whole foundation, is your instincts. But your instincts start coming out through your body, right? Your body will start signaling, firing and wiring, telling you things. So sweaty palms, a nervous heart, like heart beating really fast, feeling really like sweaty and speedy and almost drunk or high. I cannot tell you how many times I have mistaken that for chemistry. I thought that was chemistry. A lot of people do. Because it feels like that. It's like, oh, the butterflies and it's passion and all this stuff. That is your body saying this is not safe. That is your body going into fight or flight. Maybe at best it's lust. But lust is not a good entry point for a trusting, respectful, loving, open, honest relationship. It's not. For those of you that know me, you know this. And those of you that don't, you're going to get to know this. Back in the day, in my youngin' ages, when I was living in Hollywood, like in my 20s, 300 years ago, I love how people are like, you're such a granny, you washed up old lady. It's fine. Anyway, so in my 20s, I lived in Hollywood. When I first moved out there, I was a nanny. I was actually a nanny for the first 6 years that I lived there, for a family who I grew to just love. And the little girl was just a light in my life, and they're still such a beautiful people. The parents at the time were very prevalent porn producers. Okay? That was a whole other story. Maybe I'll do videos on that, because that was a whole dark night of the soul, and my learning about people and being exposed to different ways of life and all sorts of things. And the porn industry, they kept it very separate from me. I was the nanny, and I took care of this little girl from the time she was like 6 months old till she was 6 years old. I called it my mommy internship. But what was funny is I was like at the AVN Awards and like pushing a stroller, and believe me, they kept everything separate from her, and it was very, as much as they could. And anyway, that's another story. But the point is that I was exposed to a lot of different lifestyles, a lot of different types of relationships that, quite frankly, I had a lot of judgment about when I went in. And I met some great people, actually, really lovely people. I didn't meet anybody who was happy, and truly content, who was living a path of this lustful life with no respect, love, honor, trust in place in their relationships. And it was devastating to a lot. And a lot of people tried to just keep that out. Like, who cares? We can keep emotion out of it, right? It's the sexual revolution and all this. We don't need to have emotional ties to people, and it's my body and all this stuff. I didn't meet one person who was fulfilled in that way. I didn't. And I met a lot of people, and they would admit to me after so long, it wasn't fulfilling. It's exhausting. And I do have more respect for people who are in like polyamorous relationships, openly saying like, I'm in a polyamorous relationship, I don't believe in monogamy. I have so much more respect for that than a narcissist who claims to want monogamy, but they only want their spouse to be monogamous. They don't want to be monogamous. They want to lie, cheat, and be with everybody all around town. I have no respect for that. So I definitely have more respect for somebody who's just like openly, hey, I want to be with everybody. Like, because then at least you have a choice in the matter, right? You can agree or disagree, but at least you have a choice. The person who's just absolutely blatantly lying to you is involving you energetically in all these other people that you don't want to be involved with. You're not signing up for that, but you are with a narcissist. Period. They are always doing this. So don't go into that lust. When you feel those things, that is warning. That is a red flag. We're not taught that. All the movies say that that's like, oh, that's passion. No, it isn't. No, it's not. And I've made that mistake. I will admit it. It's not. I'm done. I'm actually totally happy being completely just happy on my own. I am so feeling good. And I'm actually really digging it. So, especially after having so many narcissistic relationships, I'm like, whew, I am having peace and fun and excitement. So if you're in one, there is light at the end of the tunnel, I promise. I've been in more than I care to admit. Number 3, the thing to start noticing too is like the little subliminal messages, things that they post online. Like I posted in the shorts feed that they'll post like pictures of their bedroom, just the bedroom, like, oh, I just made my bed, and it's like all set romantically. That's a subliminal message. It's psychological warfare. See, they want you to imagine that you're there. It does a couple things. First of all, it's bait to see who will bite, who's going to message them like, oh, I love your bedroom, or I love your decorations, or whatever like that, because that's an invitation in their mind. It also, subliminally, you feel like you've been to their place if you haven't been. So it makes you feel more comfortable than you should, sooner than you should. These are all subliminal messages, and they do it a lot. It's like on cycle, it's on a repeat. So it'd be one thing if they just do this here and there, if somebody did this here and there, if they're an interior designer, you're an interior designer and you do that, that's random. I'm talking about this is part of their repertoire. They'll do that. The other thing they do is that they'll post pictures, but they don't post who they're with. They'll just post the dinner, but you can tell that it's 2 people there. That plants another seed. And you go, well, why, if they're wanting to date somebody else, why would they post pictures of another date? Psychological warfare. Because, see, you don't want to ask those questions, especially if you're dating them. It seems weird. You're like, oh, were you on a date last night? Or what was that? And then they can say, oh, you're jealous. Oh, that's my coworker. Or, oh my gosh, I was just out alone, or whatever. But see, they can test you with these little subliminal messages and see how you respond. The other one is the gym selfie. Classic, right? You're getting it in their story. Why is it in the story? Because they don't want you to see other people's responses. Because it's not just for you. Again, it's another bait. It's for other people to go, oh my God, you look good, or you're so in shape, or whatever, for them to get that supply from everybody on their Facebook friends list, or whatever it is, right? And again, different if they're trying to inspire because they're in the health community, or trying to inspire, a way of living. But I remember I talked to one narcissist that I do, and I was like, that's so inspiring that you post all those gym selfies. And he was like, isn't it a little eye roll though, kind of? And I was like, no, I think it's really inspiring because it shows people like how in shape you can get and when you dedicate yourself and all these things. And he was like, oh no, I don't do it for that. But then you're uncomfortable to ask, well, like, what do you do it for? But your instincts will tell you. You know exactly what they're doing it for. But you almost don't want to know. So sometimes you avoid these questions. So the other thing is to go lean into that question. Allow them to be uncomfortable. Allow them to answer it. Allow yourself to be uncomfortable, because you're going to be really uncomfortable later when you brush those things under the rug because you don't want to look weird. They're being weird. So who cares if you look weird? You're going to look really weird after they pull you into their lair and then discard you like yesterday's trash. Number 4 is to really pay attention to how other people are treating them on social media. How are they talking to them? If it's a guy and they have hundreds of girls that are completely lustful on there, like, oh, you hashtag sexy and hashtag sexy AF and all this stuff, or even opposite sex, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter what gender. If you have somebody that a bunch of people are responding like that, and you don't think that they're putting that energy out to those people, maybe privately in their DMs and their stories, whatever, come on, you're fooling yourself. If they're getting that much lustful energy from people, believe me, they are giving it out to those people. Or if they post a profile picture and all the comments are like that, you better believe they are giving that energy to those people. Is that really somebody that you want to trust? They're doing that right before your eyes. And some of these people get off on actually connecting you with people that they're with. And they're all just friends. And if you ask, or if it comes up later, it's like, oh yeah, we dated a long time ago, but we're friends. They'll try to keep you as a friend if you let them. That just means they're shelving you. If their supply that they're like hot with right now isn't working out, then they go back. They always recycle. Always recycle. That's why they have a whole hundreds of people on there going, oh, I love you, because all those people are just waiting. They're trauma bonded. They're addicted. They're in that lust. But what do you really want? Is that what you really want? Number 5, watch out for the hot and cold behavior. They sprinkle it in, even in the beginning, to see how you're going to behave. And then it gets worse and worse as the relationship goes. The closer you get to them, the colder they'll get. And then they get warm again, and then cold, and then hot, and then cold, hot and cold. Disappearing acts. Discarding, devaluing, coming back, hoovering, hot and cold. But this is done in the beginning really simply. And again, you don't want to like act like you're crazy or something. It's like, for me, the reason I think I've been a target a lot is because I'm really easygoing. They're like, she'll just go for whatever. She's not like all high maintenance. The problem with that, when you're like, oh, whatever you want to do, whatever they want to do is screw you over. So that's what you're signing up for when you do that. And when you say that to somebody like that, they're like, perfect. I will do whatever I want. I'm going to do whatever I want anyways. I always was. Always will. This is a game that they play with everybody. On rotation. All the time. Don't feel sorry for them. So number 7 is be really upfront with your intentions. Really upfront. And of course, they'll still lie to you, because if they want to manipulate you in that way, they'll say everything that you want to hear, and they're going to mirror everything that you say anyway. So a way that you can outsmart them is by asking the question a little different way. Ask them if they are the type of person that would be a good example, role model for their kid in dating, and why. And how they answer that question will tell you a lot. I wish I had asked that. But now I know. And now I'm sharing. I remember I was meeting a guy I was dating, kid, for the first time. And this little boy, he's like preteen, right? He was really cool. Really cool kid. I liked him a lot. And he turned to me and he was like, so how long have you known my dad? And we just introduced as friends, right? And I told him, it had been a few months. And he said, oh, my dad breaks up with everyone. So also pay attention when you meet other people that really know them, what they say. And that's how you can outsmart them. Avoid them if you can, and escape if you see these signs. And you can also follow along the shorts that I'm doing. I'm posting one at least a day, and I'm going up to 50 signs. So you can follow along with that. Thank you so much for being here. Please do subscribe and share with somebody that you think this could help, so that we raise the awareness, because more of us that are talking about this, if it really is good and evil, if you want to think about that in that way, the good really does prevail. The light always shines brighter than the darkness.